Life's Up.
Oh, no. It says, I'm coming for you, Howie.
On August 21st, 2018, millions watched America's Got Talent suddenly cut to black in the middle of Sacred Riana's performance. No explanation, no ending, just a scream followed by commercials. Overnight, the internet decided something had gone wrong, that she crossed a line, that the show panicked. But what if nothing went wrong at all? What if that blackout was the most perfectly executed illusion of her career? Do you remember watching this live, and did you think it was a mistake or part of the act? So, who was Sacred Riana before that night, and why did AGT already know exactly what they were getting? She wasn't a nobody, the star. A GT didn't introduce. And here's the first hidden truth that gets skipped when people talk about that AGT blackout like it was some spooky accident. Sacred Riana did not walk onto America's Got Talent as a random unknown that the judges just discovered. She walked in with a resume. A scary one, yes, but a real one. Before AGT, she had already done what most contestants only dream about. In 2017, she competed on Asia's Got Talent Season 2, and she did not just place high. She won the whole thing. She beat out other finalists in the grand final, including a popular Filipino dance group, and took the title. That matters because it tells you something simple. The world had already voted on her, and the world said, "We want more." So when AGT introduced her with that mysterious vibe, as she arrived out of the shadows with no past, it was not because there was no past. It's because the show benefits from the overnight sensation storyline. It's cleaner, it's easier to sell. It makes the audience feel like they're witnessing the birth of a legend in real time, not the next chapter of one. And if you look closely, her whole act is built on discipline, not randomness. She is known for staying in character. The long hair, the blank stare, the silence, the tiny, twitchy movements that make people lean back in their seats. That is not someone freestyling fear. That is someone who has rehearsed fear until it looks natural. Even her real identity is not really a mystery, because public profiles have long listed her real name. The unknown ghost girl thing is branding, and she commits to it like it's a contract. That's the contrast that matters. In a lot of Western coverage, she gets framed like a creepy surprise. In Asia, she was already treated like a top-level act who could headline a finale. The same performer, two different stories. So let me ask you something. Did you know she had already won a major Got Talent show before America ever met her? And why do you think AGT did not make that the headline when it clearly adds credibility instead of taking it away? Because once you see that she didn't come out of nowhere, you start realizing something else. If AGT knew exactly who she was, and they knew what her horror illusionist persona does to a crowd, what were they really signing up for? America meets the ghost girl. So, if AGT knew exactly who she was, and they knew what her horror magic persona does to a crowd, what were they really signing up for? You can see the answer the moment she steps onto the AGT stage in her audition. This is not a normal magician walk-in. There's no smiling intro, no hi judges, and no friendly banter to warm the room. She shows up like a power outage in human form. Long hair hid her face, barely speaking, moving like she's buffering in real life. And AGT does not try to fix that. They film it like it's the point. Then the act starts, and it leans hard into discomfort. She takes a photo with Mel B, and what looks harmless turns into a slow, unsettling reveal. The routine builds like a creepy children's story that keeps getting worse. And the judges are reacting in real time. You can feel the show's editing helping her too, cutting to faces, stretching the silences, and letting the audience's nervous laughter hang in the air. This is Sacred Riana AGT audition as a full experience, not just a trick. And then comes the moment people forget when they say, a GT shut her down. Simon Cowell actually hits his buzzer during her audition, but not because the show wants to stop her. It plays like a judge reacting to the fear factor. He still lets the moment breathe, and the other judges vote yes. She moves on. That is the first big receipt. Even when a buzzer happens, the show still pushes her forward. By the time Judge Cuts arrives, AGT doubles down. same silence, same tension, and the performance is framed like a mini horror short. This time, the act involves an imaginary friend, and the show leans into the idea that she's not just doing magic, she's pulling the judges into a scary little story they can't control. The judges send her through to the live shows. Again, not suppressed, encouraged. So, here's the real question. Would you have buzzed her, or would you have let it play out just to see where it goes? And be honest, is fear a valid talent when it's this controlled, this intentional, and this repeatable? Because after the audition and judge cuts, AGT had basically told America, yes, we're doing this. And then came the performance that changed everything. The one that didn't end on stage. What happened next when the lights were supposed to stay on? The cut to black that broke the internet. Because after the audition and judge cuts, AGT had basically told America, yes, we're doing this. And then came the performance that changed everything. The one that didn't end on stage. What happened next when the lights were supposed to stay on? It's August 21st, 2018. Live quarterfinals. The stakes are higher, the stage looks bigger, and the whole vibe is built for spectacle. And Sacred Riana walks out like she always does, not greeting anyone, not breaking character, and not giving the audience the comfort of a smile. The show gives her the full horror movie treatment again. The lighting, the camera angles, and the way they hold on the judges' faces a second longer than normal. This is AG turning a magic act into a mood. Now here's the myth people still repeat. Something went wrong. The network panicked. They cut her off. But when you replay the performance beat by beat, it does not feel like chaos. It feels like escalation. She starts with a setup that looks like a dark children's game, the kind you only realize is dangerous when it's too late. There's the eerie prop work, the doll imagery, and the sense that she's controlling something on stage without touching it. The point is not the prop itself. The point is the tension it creates, because she isn't doing a flashy magician routine where you clap after every move. She's doing one long pressure build. Then the act shifts into that "how is she there" territory. The moment that makes the audience do the quick head tilt. Suddenly, she's not where your brain expects her to be. It plays like a glitch, like the stage is duplicating her. 1 second, she's in front of you. Then you're questioning whether you just saw a second version of her. Clones is the best way people describe it, because that's how it feels in the room. It's not a clean ta-da, it's confusion on purpose. And confusion is powerful on live TV because your brain is working while the clock is still moving. Now, right at the peak, she goes for the image that people still argue about years later. She moves toward the side wall, and it looks like she starts to climb in a way that should not be possible. It's fast and unnatural, and the audience reaction spikes, because this is the moment where the act stops feeling like a stage routine and starts feeling like a scene. Then you hear it, the scream, the kind of scream that's sharp enough to override logic. And that's when it happens. The screen cuts to black, not a fad, not a polite transition. It's a hard drop into darkness. And then, almost immediately, commercials. For anyone watching live, it felt like the show had slammed on the brakes, like you just watched a live broadcast lose control of its own stage for a second. So, let's do the myth versus fact the right way. The myth is that AGT was forced to cut away because it got too real. The fact, according to publicly shared production notes referenced afterward by fan documentation sources, is that the cut to black was planned. In other words, that blackout was not an accident that interrupted the trick. It was the trick. And once you accept that, everything about that night looks different. Because AGT did not just air her act, the broadcast became part of the illusion. They didn't only sell you a ghost girl magician on a stage, they sold you the feeling that even the network could be haunted. They turned a basic TV tool, cutting to black, into a storytelling weapon. Now, let me ask you, did this feel real to you watching it, or did you immediately suspect it was staged? And should TV ever become part of the trick when millions of people trust the broadcast to show them what's actually happening? Because if nothing went wrong, why did it feel like she vanished, eliminated, but never explained? The blackout didn't just end her act, it rewired how people watched her. Because once you've seen America's Got Talent literally cut away from a performer mid-scream, your brain files that under "something went wrong," even if the paperwork later says it didn't. So when the results came, the logic was simple and the reaction was not. On paper, Sacred Riana left a GT the same way most acts leave the live shows. The votes didn't push her through. No secret ban. No emergency stop. Just the very unglamorous math of a competition night. She's widely recorded as a Season 13 quarterfinalist, meaning she made the live quarterfinals, then got eliminated there. But here's why people rejected the standard voting rules explanation instantly. Because Sacred Riana didn't behave like someone who just lost. Most contestants do the ritual. Big smile, big breath, big thank you, even if their eyes look watery. Sacred Riana stayed inside the character. And that character doesn't do gratitude speeches. It doesn't do closure. It doesn't even do comfort. And that is the part viewers underestimate. Her silence isn't an awkward personality quirk. It's a business decision. If she breaks character, the fear deflates. The internet turns her into a magician who plays creepy. But if she never breaks it, she stays the ghost girl. A brand you can't fully explain. A clip you send to your friend with, "Nah, watch this. This is unreal." And in the attention economy, mystery is not a side effect. Mystery is the product. So people started asking for an explanation that the format can't really give. Was she upset? Was she angry? Did the show cut her short and quietly punish her after? And because she didn't step forward to calm anyone down, the unanswered questions got louder than the actual result. Then the quote that really messes with the whole "she must be devastated" storyline shows up later, and it flips the emotion people projected onto her. She later said she did not feel sad about being eliminated from AGT. That's wild, right? Because it means the ending America saw as a dramatic disappearance might have felt to her like a clean exit, like the show was one chapter, not the whole book. So, if she didn't vanish, and she didn't mourn the loss, why did it feel like the internet lost track of her right after the most famous blackout in AGT history? The career everyone missed. And that's the trap, right? When a show ends, your story with a vote, your brain assumes the career ends too. Like the curtain drops and the person evaporates. But Sacred Riana didn't evaporate. She didn't vanish. She multiplied. While the American timeline kept replaying that cut to black like it was her last known sighting, a whole second career was quietly stacking up in the background. The kind of career you only notice if you stop letting Western TV be the scoreboard. First, she did the move that turns a spooky act into a real brand. She stepped off the stage and into film. Not a cameo, not a quick guest spot, but an actual movie built around her world, where the silence, the doll, the stare, and the slow dread all become a story you can package and sell beyond a talent show clip. And once you can package it, you can scale it. Because the Sacred Riana character is not a trick. It's an intellectual property. It's a costume you can recognize in 1 second. It's a mood you can feel before the first jump scare even happens. It's a format that works in short clips, live theaters, TV specials, and international stages where people don't even share the same first language. Fear translates. So, the post-AGT era becomes this fast montage that most people simply missed. More TV appearances, more international stages, more special event bookings where the whole point is that she doesn't explain herself. Even when she shows up again in other Got Talent worlds, the vibe stays the same. She arrives, she makes the room uncomfortable on purpose, and then she leaves you holding the question like it's a cold coin. And here's the part that's almost funny, in a dark way. The internet called her gone because she wasn't doing the usual influencer thing. No loud thank you videos, no constant behind-the-scenes vlogs breaking the spell. But if you look at the moves, it's clear she didn't stop working. She just kept the brand tight. She kept the illusion sealed. Even her live shows lean into that. The marketing isn't "come watch a magician," it's "come if you dare," as if you're buying a ticket to a rumor. One of her recent festival listings even flexes the sheer scale of her online reach, basically saying, "This isn't niche, this is global." So let me ask you, why don't we hear about this side of her more often? Is it because we only count success when it happens on American prime time? And if a performer refuses to play the usual fame game, do we mistake that discipline for disappearance? So, what's the real lesson behind all of this? And why did AGT's Blackout work so well on our brains in the first place? The girl who weaponized being misunderstood. Here's the part most "What happened to Sacred Riana?" videos never say out loud because it sounds too simple to be true. Confusion wasn't the price she paid for fame. Confusion was the product. Think about how America met her. Not as a normal contestant with a backstory, a big smile, and a "thank you so much." She showed up like a locked door. No small talk, no explaining the rules, no friendly wink to tell you it's safe. And the moment people get uncomfortable, they do what they always do. They start writing the story for you. She's possessed. She's traumatized. She's being forced. She's a gimmick. Pick a theory, post it online, and suddenly the comment section is doing free marketing. But what makes Sacred Riana different is that she never rushes in to correct anyone. Most performers panic when audiences misunderstand them, because misunderstanding feels like losing control. She does the opposite. She lets the misunderstanding sit there, breathe, multiply, and turn into myth. That's why her silence hits harder than any scream. Silence forces you to lean in. Silence makes you fill gaps with your own imagination. And imagination is always scarier than facts. Now, zoom out and look at what she built after AGT. She didn't disappear. She kept performing the persona in longer formats, in bigger rooms, and in different countries, like a horror movie villain who learns how to travel. When you can scale a character without constantly explaining it, you've basically created an IP, not just an act, but a repeatable experience people can buy tickets for. And she keeps proving she understands something most TV shows forget. The brand is not the trick. The brand is the feeling the trick leaves behind. That's why she can pop up in new projects and new shows without needing to reintroduce herself like a beginner. Even announcements and updates can feel like part of the lore, because the audience already expects mystery. So let me ask you something. Do you think she planned all of this? Or did she just notice what people were doing and lean into it? And when a performer refuses to explain themselves, does that make them more powerful? Or does it cross a line? Because when people ask what really happened to Sacred Riana, the uncomfortable answer might be that nothing happened to her at all. She just learned how to turn misunderstanding into currency and spent it perfectly, didn't she? So, what really happened to Sacred Riana? She was not censored, broken, or silenced. On America's Got Talent, she performed the character exactly as designed, and the blackout turned the broadcast into the trick. The real illusion was not ghosts, but us thinking we witnessed something real without understanding the rules. Do you think the blackout was genius or unfair? Should artists ever explain their work? Was AGT using her, or was she using AGT? Would you watch her show?